This week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry, with agriculture broadcaster Orion Samuelson and yours truly, Max Armstrong, and featuring agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier. This week in Agribusiness is brought to you by Firestone. You never farm alone.
2021 is underway, but some farm meetings are still moving ahead virtually. Welcome to This Week in Agribusiness. Ordinarily, this is the week where American Farm Bureau, the nation's largest general farm organization, has its meeting in person to discuss the goings-on for the next year. This year, however, that meeting is virtual. Max spoke with two state Farm Bureau presidents, and he noted that some growers will miss the networking opportunities this year.
We're proud of our organization and the event that's going to be put on, the virtual event. But we all know that conventions are family reunions for Farm Bureau members all across the country and all across our state. And so we're going to miss that. We understand it. We understand we got to keep everyone safe. And so we're going to get through this the best we can.
Coming out of your state Farm Bureau annual meeting, what were some of the big issues that your delegates said you need to be tackling in the year ahead, and what you're taking to American Farm Bureau?
Well, I think all of us looked at this pandemic and looked at what happened this year and realized that we've got some real issues, especially in the beef world, to understand how we get food to the table and as farmers, and then how we get paid for it as farmers. And so I think there's some issues there that we work through in our state. Certainly, I think that's a national issue that will be talked about at our American meeting as well.
You are in one of those states where you have big cities, and there's that natural clash. I mean, it's a two-edged sword. Some of your growers benefit mightily by being next to Winston-Salem or Raleigh or Charlotte because they can sell into that market. For others, and for many of those growers who do benefit, there are big challenges every day. How do you make that work? How do you avoid that conflict that is naturally there?
Well, I think it's about a conversation, Max, and that's what we want to have. We want to have a conversation with our urban neighbors and say, look, we understand there's nothing more important than the food that you need to survive. And so we provide that food. Here's how we do it, and have that conversation. And so we, certainly is a challenge, but you can also look at every challenge as an opportunity. And as you mentioned, it's been a great opportunity for our farmers that have a retail market this year. They've actually been some of the most successful farmers through the pandemic because people have wanted to get outside and go to a farm and see, get some food, number one, but then see how it's grown. So we've had some great opportunities to do that this year.
But because so many growers were hit hard by the events of this past year, including the pandemic and the ongoing trade skirmishes, the government portion of income was much higher. The president of Ohio Farm Bureau noted that growers would much prefer to be raising crops for the market rather than for government assistance.
Farmers and ranchers want to get their money from the marketplace, not from Uncle Sam, and, clearly unprecedented times and necessity to be able to utilize those programs, whether it was programs even independent of USDA, like the PPP, Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program, or the programs that existed in the coronavirus food programs as well. So it's not the desired route that farmers and ranchers would like to take, but certainly absolutely critical as we look at 2020. And really, we don't know what 2021 holds as we see record cases across the nation right now.
If there is a number one issue at the federal level, what is it for Ohio Farm Bureau members?
So I think as we look nationally, I'm not sure that we can nail it down to a number one issue. I think we recognized a lot of issues through the pandemic in our food system nationally that we need to put some attention to moving forward. We recognize some areas where we need to make some changes. I think we got the next farm bill coming on, so we'll have a new farm bill discussion as we move forward into the next year. As we look to be a part of the discussion, we have to continue to watch the tax implications and protect the estate tax and the permanent exemption that's protecting farmers and ranchers across this country as they try to pass their farms and their farm businesses on to the next generation. So those are some absolutely critical issues. When you look on the regulatory front and some of the progress that's been made in the regulations over the last several years, we'll also need to make sure that we continue to protect some of those improvements as well.
Well, thank you, Max. Hear that from a lot of growers. They'd rather sell into the market at a profit than take a government payment. And the past 4 months have certainly provided grain growers with that opportunity given this rally. To help gaze into her crystal ball, we're joined by Naomi Bloom from Total Farm Marketing to see just how long this rally can continue. Naomi, soybeans are on fire. Is this still all export demand driven?
It's export demand driven. It's dry weather in Argentina. It's the dollar keeping working lower. It's a stocks to use ratio, currently the second tightest in history, and it's only January of the marketing year. Soybean futures have had a tremendous run, like you said. Earlier this week, getting up to the 1375 level for the March contract. So next resistance is 14 with support well at 1350 and below there at $13.
Well, $14 beans certainly do sound good to a lot of growers out there. But Naomi, Thursday of this week, we got the export sales report out and it was down pretty considerably. Do you think we're finally starting to see prices rationing demand?
I think it's a little bit of price rationing demand. I think it's also January, and this is the time of year where exports just traditionally start to slow down as we start to then focus on South American crop becoming available. It's normal for U.S. exports for soybeans to really slow down during January, February, March, and April, again, because the South American harvest becomes ready. So this is normal, but I definitely think it also is a little bit of price rationing.
It's a little bit of price rationing. We're starting to see the market kind of take a break or took a little pullback, I should say, mid to late part of the week this last week. As you go forward, how much of the market news is going to be driven by exports, which you mentioned seasonally do tend to decline, versus bullish excitement about what's happening down in South America? I know we're expected to see Argentina reduce the size of their soybean crop here.
Yeah, I would say for the next couple days here until we get into the January 12th USDA report, look for soybean futures to just consolidate at these loftier levels. We don't have a reason at the moment to go above $14. It would take a really bullish USDA report on Tuesday. And at the same time, though, we are well supported at $13 because of the pace of exports being strong and because of the dryness in Argentina. So kind of a quiet pace. You're going to see traders square up positions before the report. You're going to see the fund money do some allocation. That can mean buying and selling, and then selling and buying all within the same week. So expect a lot of volatility, but again, we need a bullish report on Tuesday to get the price to get above $14.
Let's talk about Tuesday's report and your expectations. That's January 12th. The January supply and demand estimates come out from USDA, and I have seen some commentators expecting to see USDA drop soybean carryout below 100 million bushels. That seems pretty strong to me, Naomi. What do you think? What do you expect to see?
I do think we'll see a reduction of ending stocks on Tuesday. Right now, the USDA has ending stocks for soybeans pegged at 175 million bushels. The average trade guess going into the report is approximately 140 million bushels, and that would be a significant drop, and it could be the reason for prices to continue to go higher above 14. But as far as are we going to see an aggressive drop to 100 right off the bat, I really don't think so. This is the USDA, where back in 2012 they were so slow to change the ending stocks numbers in the drought. Anytime that the market perception is that the ending stocks for soybeans is under 100 million bushels, that just sends a panic button. And I think it's too early in the marketing year for the USDA to be that aggressive. Could they do it by the summertime? I think that's more realistic. But I mean, the bottom line, you're going to see a cut on ending stocks, but I don't think it's going to be all the way down to 100 right off the bat.
Now, with all that being said, and this January report here just a few days away, are there anything growers need to do to manage that risk going into that report?
Oh, absolutely. This is, tremendous value. We haven't seen these prices since 2014. So 6 years it has been since we have had these pricing opportunities. Could the market prices go higher because of the market situation and the dry weather in Argentina and the drought that we have here in the United States? Yes, down the road. But at the same time, there is tremendous value in front of you right now. So two thoughts. If you're making a cash sale, do look at reownership opportunities with option strategies that can get you through summer. At the same time, if you want to not make any cap sales right now ahead of the report, then what you need to take a look at is February or March put option strategies to just give you some layer of protection in case we get a bearish surprise on the report or the market just has a bearish reaction in terms of whatever the market might provide. So definitely manage your risk, manage your opportunities, and this is exciting opportunities for agriculture.
It is. We'll be back for more with Naomi Bloom in just a second. This portion of This Week in Agribusiness is brought to you by the Soybean Checkoff. Tips, videos, how-tos, and more. If it has to do with ag tech, you'll find it in the Tech Tool Shed, your unbiased one-stop resource. We're talking commodity prices with Naomi Bloom of Total Farm Marketing. And Naomi, we spent a lot of time on soybeans, but corn has certainly also seen quite an incredible rally. As we get into the new year, where do you see corn prices, old crop corn prices, heading in the short term?
In the short term, we have tremendous resistance at the $5 level. Again, these are prices that we haven't seen since 2014. Soybeans are the leader in this marketplace. Corn is the follower. Soybeans have a bullish report on Tuesday. Corn will follow higher. The next upside target for corn, if it can get through $5, is the $5.20 area. But you could argue, if we get enough bullish news by summer, that corn futures prices could get near $6. But again, we need the stars to continue align. So that means we need China to show up and do some more buying. We need not so great weather to happen in South America. And then we'll need to see the dollar continue lower, and then again have some sort of weather issues here in the United States this summer. But at the bottom line, the most recent thought is that prices are going to be well supported into the new year. Don't be complacent though with your marketing. Take advantage of the opportunities. I talked to a grower from North Dakota today who said that he is $1 above his break even for corn profits right now. So there is value there, friends. There is value.
There is value there, Naomi, but you mentioned the fact that we could see $6 corn. It's awfully tough to pull the trigger on $4.80 corn if 6 is in the cards. How should growers be managing their marketing risk, given the fact that that's a potential out there for this summer?
Well, what you need to do is be able to have a view of both sides of the scenario. So there is absolutely a reason why prices can go higher. So keep moving your sales at the elevator higher, have orders working like at 518 if 520 is the next target higher. And if prices can get through there, 550 is the next target above that. And so have your orders working at 545. And then also, just keep scale selling on the way up, because you never know when a black swan can come in and mess this whole thing up. At the same time, if we see an official topping signal on the marketplace, have your plan ready to go to be disciplined and pull the trigger on any sales remaining if prices all of a sudden look like they're fundamentally going to fall apart. So you have to manage both the risk and the opportunity in this market.
That makes sense. Now, Naomi, one of the groups of folks who were really kind of blindsided by this rally are end users, ethanol plants, livestock producers, dairy producers. You know, on the dairy side, we've seen an incredible year from the poorhouse to a mansion, and now we're kind of bouncing around. How should dairy producers be managing this disruption in milk supply and this rise in feed costs?
Yeah, there's a lot going on with the dairy market, and a lot of it hinges around the Farm to Family Food Program, which we just heard that it's going to be happening again. And so that sent milk prices rallying nearly $2 already this week. Milk prices are back to the $19 level for the March contract. So we went from, just like you said, we had great prices at the end of 2020, and now we had low prices at the end of 2020, and now we're back up and moving higher. So you got to manage all the opportunities that are there. Bottom line is that milk production right now is absolutely humongous. The most recent milk production report had production up 3%, and that is a huge increase. So we have large production, and thankfully we have demand there because of the Farm to Family Food Program. But if that dries up with the new administration coming in, we have the reality of plentiful production of milk. So there is a lot to manage with the potential for higher feed costs and also big production. So keep an eye on milk prices, manage the opportunities that are there, and keep an eye on the government programs. That's the biggest thing right now.
All right, keep an eye out. Naomi Bloom, Total Farm Marketing.
Chad Colby's look at agriculture technology comes your way next, brought to you by the IBM Watson Decision Platform. combining AI with Internet of Things data to help agribusiness increase yields, improve quality, and drive sustainability.
It's that midwinter doldrums, a chance for grain farmers to haul grain to the market, but also take stock of their equipment and perhaps do a little cleaning. Chad Colby this week and next week digs into some of the new technology that's being developed for cleaning.
It's not uncommon in the off-season to be cleaning your farm equipment. Hi everyone, I'm Chad Colby, and on the next 2 weeks, we're going to talk about some new technology that might help you do that on your farm. T&T Cleaners has a product that's really known around the world, really in the livestock space. We're talking about cleaning and disinfecting for diseases and those kind of things in livestock. But over the last several years, you've seen some of that amazing technology find its way to farms and shops just like this one. And what it does, it's unlike a 5-gallon bucket and some dish soap. It's a little better than that. And I wanted to bring in a professional to share a little bit of the insides on how some of this new technology works.
Chad, you're absolutely right. We have seen amazing technology come out of the cleaning sector. So after the new pickup truck today, we also worked on this 10-year-old tractor sitting behind me. And it was actually in really good shape, but what we noticed were a lot of brushing marks and rag marks from just 10 years of washing. And so we wanted to fix this. And so we also brought some technology on the farm today from Rupes USA. And this is a complete system of using a machine with a specific pad and their specific polish. And this is a system that works together to make paint correction easy. I want to show you this area below the orange tape here that we worked out the defects in the paint. Above the line we haven't touched, and it's clear to see the difference of what this system can do.
Well, John, you're right. The finished product looks amazing. Now, yes, we used T&T Cleaner and we leveled all the paint and corrected it, but we left out a little part of this. Be sure to join us next week as we talk about a ceramic coating right here, especially designed for agriculture. For This Week in Agribusiness, I'm Chad Colby.
Thank you, Chad. That is some sharp-looking equipment. Well, U.S. Wheat Associates caught a bunch of sharp-looking equipment for a new video they're premiering, and we've got the trailer. Don't go away. Welcome back to This Week in Agribusiness. As we look out over this past 4 months, we have certainly seen the importance of exports when it comes to America's row crops, and getting those crops from growers in the heartland out to buyers around the world requires a robust system of transportation. Well, that system got updated a little bit at the end of 2020 as we had the appropriations bill signed by President Trump on December 27th. To help us understand how that has impacted our inland waterways system, we're joined by Mike Steenhoek, the Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. Mike, what happened on December 27th that gets you kind of excited about the fate of our locks and dams in this country?
Well, one of the pieces of legislation that was included and passed within this larger appropriations bill was the passage of what's called a Water Resources Development Act, or a WRDA bill. And what that law essentially does is it establishes a blueprint or a game plan for how we as a nation are going to attend to and improve our inland waterway system with including our locks and dams. And arguably the most notable component of this WRDA bill getting passed was a change in the cost share for when we endeavor to either build a new lock or do a major rehabilitation to a current lock. Heretofore, the responsibility was 50% from the federal government, 50% from the private sector, specifically the Inland Waterways Trust Fund. And that's populated by a 29-cent tax per gallon of diesel fuel that the barge industry pays, and ultimately customers pay as well, including farmers and agriculture. And with the law getting passed on December 27th, it changed that cost share from 50-50 to 65% federal government, 35% Inland Waterway Trust Fund, or the private sector. And the bottom line is, we hope with that cost share change, it will allow some of this work that's been lingering for years, some of these lock and dam projects that agriculture has been pining for and advocating for, will finally move from the on-deck circle to the batter's box. and actually be attended to and hopefully eventually getting completed.
So, Mike, as you look out down the road for 2021, with this change in place, I know the Illinois River certainly got some love this last year with its lock and dam system. As you look out, what are some of the first tier projects that you would like to see the government take aim at when it comes to the inland waterway system?
Well, yeah, hopefully one of the things that we will see, and I think we have a real opportunity for it, is actually having some of these projects that are along the Mississippi River that are north of St. Louis that handle a lot of agricultural volume finally get some work done on them. And they're kind of finally worked its way up in the queue. And so now the time is to actually attend to them and actually prioritize some of these projects. That would be a significant benefit to agriculture, and obviously very timely given the fact that we've got a strong export program going on right now. We want our supply chain to be operating at full capacity during this time.
You bet. It certainly needs to be robust, and that raises an issue I've heard from some growers, and I don't know the answer to. I'm assuming you will, which is when we go in to make these upgrades to the inland water system, are we going to be disrupting trade at that moment? Do we typically need to see the locks or dams closed as the renovations happen?
Sometimes that's the case, and we had a closure along the Illinois River this past summer for several months due to the major rehabilitation that did occur. Other times when you build a new lock, you're often able to do it at a different site, a few hundred yards away from the current site, so you can have construction on a new facility while the existing facility is still operational. And when the new facility is completed, you're able to simply close the old one and transition to the new. So it really kind of is site specific, but the goal is to be able to do a new construction project while still the existing one is operational.
Gotcha. Now, Mike, we talk a lot about the inland waterways in this country because they are a phenomenal competitive advantage for American agricultural producers. But of course, we need ways to get the grains from the central part of the country to the waterways. And a lot of times that involves both trains and trucks. Were there any benefits in that December 27th bill for the railroad industry?
Yeah, the railroads are certainly an important part of our supply chain, and one of the underappreciated components of that is our short line and regional railroads. We were happy with the passage of the appropriations bill that Congress and the president made permanent a tax credit for short line railroads whenever they endeavor to repair or maintain or upgrade their existing track infrastructure. And short line railroads really play a significant role. A lot of times that first initial mile at origination point or that last mile at the destination, linking up with the large class 1 roads, the class 1 railroads, the Union Pacifics and Norfolk Southerns of this world. But that those short line railroads really provide a lot of that strategic service. They're a very critical part of our supply chain. We're very pleased to see that they got some additional support as well.
Now, Mike, with just the short time we have left, as you look out, what are some other objectives you have in Washington, D.C. this year to improve soy transportation?
Well, there'll be a lot of attention on doing a comprehensive infrastructure bill, and that's certainly welcome news. What we're really focused on is to make sure that we're not just focusing disproportionately on the needs of urban America, things like urban transit, passenger rail, those kind of things, subways. We want to be attentive to the needs of rural America. So one of our big strategic priorities is to make sure things like rural roads and bridges are incorporated into that discussion. That's the mode of transportation that's very relatable to farmers, and that really provides that linkage from that farm. Very important to us to focus on rural roads and bridges.
All right, we'll continue to see that focus coming. Thank you so much, Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of Soy Transportation Coalition.
This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry, is brought to you by Firestone. You never farm alone.
Thanks for joining us on This Week in Agribusiness. Now, on this program, of course, we are big fans of the use of video as a way to tell a story and to grab people's attention. Well, the folks over at U.S. Wheat Associates have realized the same thing. Video is a great way to tell a story. And on January 12th, they're releasing The Journey of U.S. Wheat on Facebook.
Across the United States, 6 different classes of wheat are bred for end-use characteristics, grown sustainably, tested for quality, and transported safely to people all over the world. But that is only half of the story. Behind this impressive supply chain that produces a safe, consistent product, there are people. People that bring passion and purpose, intangible investments that go into every step of the field to export journey. So while the process makes it the world's most reliable wheat, the people make it whole.
Incredible videography, pictures from farmers across this country. Cool stuff. We're joined by Steve Mercer, who's the Vice President of Communications at U.S. Wheat Associates. And Steve, when you think about this kind of project, what prompted you guys to put it together?
Well, our organization really focuses on promoting exports, and we work for farmers exclusively. We don't represent any companies or anybody else, just farmers. And over the last year or so, we've celebrated our 40th year in business as U.S. Wheat Associates, and we've been telling individual farm stories, and this was just a natural offshoot of that leading into this year to gather information from farmers, from breeders, from grain handlers, and add their voices to the promotion that our folks do around the world for U.S. wheat.
It's incredible, and you guys have chosen to release this video on Facebook at the U.S. Wheat Associates Facebook page on January 12th. Steve, what is, or I guess who is, the audience you're trying to reach with this type of video?
Yeah, absolutely. So our customers around the world are flour millers who import U.S. wheat, the bakers that are the customers of those flour millers, and other wheat foods manufacturers. And we see them come to the United States. We bring them to the United States frequently, and they always say that the most impactful time in the United States is being on farms and seeing the export system itself at work. And so that's why we wanted to make this film, to make sure that they have a chance to hear, in the words of the people who do this work, why U.S. wheat is a better value for them and why it's different from wheat from other countries.
How is U.S. wheat different than wheat from other countries, Steve?
Yeah, so we focus a lot on the quality of U.S. wheat and its reliability, the reliability of its supply. Quality is definitely starts at the breeding level. Breeders around the country, public and private, all breed in high quality end use functionality in U.S. wheat. And so that's part of this story. And then the people who grow the wheat, care for it sustainably, both economically and environmentally. And the grain handlers who bring it to market actually make sure that it stays wholesome and that its quality stays strong all the way to the export elevator.
And that's a theme you hit on repeatedly. The video, of course, is called Wholesome. It's the journey of U.S. wheat. For folks, and don't give away any spoilers, but what can folks expect to see when they watch the whole movie?
Well, they're going to see in the most beautiful footage that we think we can possibly show. We don't sing about amber waves of grain in the United States for nothing. I mean, wheat production is iconic. You're going to see that in this video, but you're going to see the passion, the commitment that these people have to producing high quality U.S. wheat, not only for folks here in the United States, but around the world as well. And so that's a really important part of this film, and it will support our overseas work as well.
Absolutely. And for folks here in this country who just want a little more info on what it takes to produce wheat and for some fantastic footage, be sure to check out the premiere of Wholesome January 12th at the U.S. Wheat Associates Facebook page.
Now, agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier brings us his farm weather forecast for the nation for the week ahead. It's presented by Pivot BioProven, the nitrogen-producing microbes that stay put, whether or not?
It's time to check in on the weather. Greg, looking out across the country, Pacific Northwest, La Nina.
Yep.
You expect to see some reduction in drought, additional moisture. Is that what's coming to pass up there?
Yeah, their wetter weather cycle for winter time is underway, and we've seen some improvement. A ways to go, but roughly from the Cascades on westward and southward into parts of northern California, as a string of weather systems this week up aloft will be moving on through. No real main frontal boundary. That remains anchored on a pretty deep low across the Gulf of Alaska. Across the northern Rockies, we've seen some improvement. The snows have been back and forth along with the wind issues, the downslope into Big Sky country and parts of the northern plains where there continues to be a moisture and snow deficit this wintertime season. Frontal boundary will shift northward into the Canadian Prairie and the Canadian Rockies for the middle and late portions of the week. Not much going on here east of the Cascades. A bit of a boundary sets up here with somewhat colder air and what's been a very, at least easy to take wintertime season so far across the northern plain states areas. And again, outside of the moisture a couple of weeks ago that hopefully has ended the fire season, we're still back onto this onshore and offshore flow back and forth. Some gusty winds into Southern California, warmth in the desert southwest, and little if any organized moisture coming off the recent snows all the way down into West Texas, Midland, Odessa a couple of weeks ago. So we're quiet into the first part of the week. Frontal boundary zips on by, more of a west to east orientation of the flow. Windy still through Southern California, offshore there. High pressure across the southern plains, and of course wide and expansive. Despite some localized relief, the drought pattern remains firmly entrenched.
Well, and looking at the central part of the country as well, we've seen a few rain and snow events come through. It's January. Greg, we going to see a lot more of those?
Yeah, and by and large, the snow cover that we had, say about a week to 10 days ago, all the way down into West Texas, just about gone, still lingering over parts of the Corn Belt. At least the atmosphere is in motion, so none of that freezing fog stuff to contend with here. High pressure over the Midwest. Next weather system across the northern and central plains, fast moving, will bring a bit of a dash of moisture, perhaps some rain and snow across the Dakotas. Light amounts, little if any organized moisture across much of the Corn Belt. Back into seasonal temperatures. Another warm-up gets underway. Sloppy grounds, thaw-free cycles, but again, we'll certainly take the comfort with outdoor work and livestock duties in mind across parts of the plains and Corn Belt locales. Much quieter, far more sedate weather pattern underway, coming off some brief localized drought relief out of the southern plains with high pressure in control. Not much going on. Weak frontal system, a sprinkle into parts of Oklahoma. A couple of showers down through the Rio Grande. High pressure in control across the Gulf Coast area. And temperatures at least moderating back to more seasonal norms coming off last week's brief frost and freeze.
What do you expect to see from the eastern Corn Belt all the way to the eastern seaboard next week?
Cold air is virtually absent. We've had a couple of bouts from time to time. Seasonal cold here with this weather system heading across the northeast of New England with another round of some light snow. St. Lawrence River Valley, pretty quiet weather pattern for January across the Corn Belt. High pressure back into the Ohio Valley, so a bit of snow through the Great Lakes region. Another windy warm-up slated west to east. Those thaw-freeze cycles, but again, comfortable nonetheless with outdoor work across the Corn Belt. Pretty quiet weather pattern in some of the waterlogged areas of the mid-Atlantic region. Speaking of which, plenty of it, including severe weather. And of course, last week, a bit of frost and freeze that made it down to just north of Orlando, but quiet high pressure across the Tennessee Valley coming off the rain-snow system there. A little bit of a weak weather system across southern Texas that skedaddles on eastbound. Cooler, drier high pressure settles in across the southeastern states for the end portion of the week.
Now, Greg Solier is back with his extended farm weather forecast for the country. Presented by Pivot Bio Proven. Visit pivotbio.com to find a representative near you.
Well, let's look at what to expect this next week. Greg, precipitation-wise, what's in your crystal ball?
Well, the winter weather pattern, the storms have been few and far between, at least as they apply to the heartland, the plains and across the Corn Belt, where that's the story this week. Perhaps through the upper Midwest, Great Lakes region, melted down, and a little bit of snowfall, tenths to a quarter is expected here. Some localized minor additional drought relief in this part of the country. Nice to see some dry time needed. Gulf Coast area into the southeastern part of the country. Little to none across the Tennessee Valley, back unfortunately the heart of the drought areas, back in the southwestern section of the country. This is where the moisture pattern continues on northern California in the Pacific Northwest, roughly Cascades on westward, 1 to 4, and big snows across the Cascades.
Now, the week after, what are you expecting to see?
From a temperature standpoint, very easy going. We have not been able to lock these grounds down good and tight with frost and freeze, pulling it back and forth, back and forth. Chinook winds warm things for mid to late January across the northern plains. A little sliver of chill down through the Gulf Coast area. The warmth in the desert southwest. Temperatures about normal with the onshore flow into the Pacific Northwest, where there's some good news here. Not much good news back into California, the southwestern states, the central and southern plains. Quiet outdoor work environments, movement of feeding supplies and livestock here, and a little above average across parts of the northeast and New England. A bit of mid-winter snowfall expected there.
Now, take us through the end of January. What do you expect to see that last week of this month?
Again, no harsh, bitter cold waves. We had some of the worst cold really during the course of the fall season. The warmth kind of builds back southward into parts of the Ohio Valley. Can't complain about that. Good chunk of the Corn Belt, parts of Texas, the southwestern portions of the country. Temperatures about normal. Great Lakes back into the northern plains. The only real cold, and it's modified off the Pacific through the northern Rockies and back into the Pacific Northwest, where good news continues on here. Once again, Bay Area on northward, southward, forget about it. Although, in this point in January, normal precip is certainly an improvement, drying out across southern sections of the plains, more so. Areas of the southeastern part of the country, good news there, and perhaps a couple of clipper systems, fast-moving disturbances into the northern Great Lakes region, the northeast, and New England.
Now, how about that first full week of February? What do you see?
Now we're getting things a little more interesting. I think, unfortunately, it begins to build some semblance and talk of maybe delayed at least ending to wintertime or the start to springtime. Here's the cold air laying out across the northern quarter of the country. The warmth down to the south. We strengthen the jet stream. No shortage of weather systems digging across the Pacific Northwest, northern plains across the Corn Belt, and an active weather pattern as we build deeper into the month of February.
Next on This Week in Agribusiness, it's Max's Tractor Shed, spotlighting another great American tractor.
In Max's Tractor Shed this weekend, a great example of a tractor restored superbly in tribute to the generation that helped make it all possible. Max's Tractor Shed is brought to you by Store-Lock Tool Cabinets. They say it's the best quality tool cabinet you'll ever buy. I don't doubt that for a moment. When you lay your hands on one, you'll say, this is second to none. StoreLock.com is where you go for more information. I've seen hundreds of tractors restored in tribute to mom or dad or both and what they did for the family farm back in the day. I understand that. I get that. You bet. And Scott Church had his dad's tractor restored for just that reason. Take a look at this. This is a John Deere A that Bill Church bought in 1952. When Bill bought it, he bought also a 3-bottom plow from John Deere. He got the combination for $2,500, according to his son, Scott. Scott says his dad was a fine farmer. He was a perfectionist, and it's a quality that's been passed along, Scott said. He wants to provide the best care for the land that he farms there in Illinois. And, oh yes, there's another generation coming along behind, Scott said. It's a wonderful tribute tractor. As Scott explained, he loved his dad dearly, and he misses him very much. On the farm in Illinois, not far out of Danville.
Well, hello, Max 2021 is here, and we're rolling at BigIron.com. January the 12th, 4 high-quality Clay County, Nebraska farms will sell online on BigIron.com through our Big Iron Realty division. January the 13th, we've got 86 different sellers from 15 different states selling quality ag equipment, trucks, and construction equipment. Check out Unruh Hay Company in Copeland, Kansas. They've got a 2009 JCB 8250 Fast Track mechanical front-wheel drive tractor. Bradley Fenimore from Bethany, Missouri. They've got a John Deere 4650 tractor selling. Owen McGill Equipment out of Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania. They're selling a 2011 John Deere 4320 mechanical front-wheel drive compact utility tractor. Plus, they have a New Holland LS 185B skid steer. We're also selling livestock on BigIron.com, Max. Dusty Paxton is from Tyrone, Nebraska. He's got 20 head of commercial Black Angus, Black Baldy Cross first calf heifers. And Ron and Monty Lerwick, they're from Albin, Wyoming. They've got Charlotte bulls plus 87 head of 4-year-old to 8-year-old cows. All of this quality equipment, land, and now livestock will sell with no reserve on BigIron.com. Check it out today.
The FFA Chapter Tribute is sponsored by Nationwide, the #1 farm insurer in the country. To register your FFA chapter, go to nationwidesupportsffa.com. That's nationwidesupportsffa.com. Nationwide, we stand for you.
This Week in Agribusiness is always proud to spotlight members of the FFA, and we're continuing that tradition. Talking this week with Emma Coons, who is the state treasurer for the Illinois FFA. Emma, thanks for talking with us. Give us the background. What's your history in FFA?
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. When I started FFA, I was a freshman at Altamont High School, and my older siblings have been members, as well as both of my parents and my grandpa. So they definitely got me started in this organization, but when I entered, I soon found that it was full of people with similar ideas and goals and aspirations, and that's why I chose to stay, was the community of people that I found very early on. And those people from my community in Section 20 in Illinois FFA gave me my start along my journey for sure.
That's incredible. And you've really taken this journey to heart. You've climbed through the ranks. You're now the state treasurer. For folks that haven't been involved, what is the role of the state treasurer? Emma, what's your day-to-day experience?
Definitely, great question. So all 5 of our major state officers serve kind of simultaneously. We do a lot of different things, but essentially we take off a year of our college career to be here in Springfield, as well as traveling the state of Illinois, serving the members. We do that in lots of different facets, whether that's creating curriculum for them to learn about our FFA programs, public speaking at events they're involved in, or leading leadership workshops. That is a large part of what we do. We're currently planning a program for freshmen and sophomores to happen in February that we're very excited about and has never happened. So our whole position is dedicated to doing anything and everything to better our lives of the students that we serve, which is over 20,000 Illinois FFA members.
That's incredible. And once you complete your year of service, you're going to go to college. And what does the future hold?
Yeah, so for me personally, I will be attending the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and majoring in agriculture economics. From there, I plan to attend law school to earn my Juris Doctorate and hopefully pass the bar exam. Moving on, I'd like to live and work in DC to start my career. I am very passionate about the community that raised me, rural Illinois, and I'd love to advocate for its interests going forward.
Fantastic. This Week in Agribusiness salutes Emma Coons and the State Illinois FFA. Grain handling technology advances every year. We take a look at one of the setups from the Farm Progress Show of 2020. With the ongoing grain price rally, a lot of farmers are looking to make some investments in their operation. Now, ordinarily, the Farm Progress Show is a great place to look at machinery, but they also have other products, including this setup from AGI Grain Bins.
Through a diverse catalog of industry-leading products, systems, and solutions, AGI has become a trusted partner on farms around the world. Whether you're expanding your current farm operation or starting from scratch, 2 of the most important considerations are equipment selection and grain flow. Understanding your needs will help you decide what equipment you need on your farm and how to keep grain flowing during the harvest season so you can avoid the bottleneck that slows things down. The AGI permanent storage system at the Husker Harvest Day site is a good example of quality equipment coming together for efficient grain flow. Through a selection of AGI galvanized flat-bottom bins and hopper bins, you can choose the size you need and the options to go with it. AGI bins feature the strongest and highest-rated roof system in the industry. And for long-lasting quality, the roof, sidewalls, and hoppers are made with G115 galvanization. The bins on this site are equipped with an AGI Hutchinson grain loop and pump systems designed to efficiently move grain throughout the storage system. For wet grain, the Hutchinson grain loop system moves grain from the wet bin into an AGI Nico dryer and then back into a dry bin where the grain is stored and managed through AGI's SureTrack Bin Manager, along with a fully automated aeration system. During wet harvest seasons, it's important to dry your grain before storing it. With an average of 35% savings in fuel costs, AGI Nico dryers are the most fuel-efficient grain dryers on the market. AGI Nico features stainless fuel trains to prevent corrosion and rusting, screenless drying providing 1 to 2 pounds heavier test weight per bushel compared to screen dryers, and a fully automated system that allows you to remotely monitor your dryer anywhere, anytime. When it's time to empty your bins, a good unload system like the 27-foot AGI Hutchinson Unload installed in the bins at the Husker Harvest site will make clean-out fast and easy and will keep the process running smooth. If you don't have an unload system built in, AGI grain vacs are the perfect portable solution and can easily be moved from bin to bin. In the market for portable handling, AGI has a full lineup of Westfield augers and conveyors. When it comes to gentle handling, Batco conveyors know best. From field loaders to long conveyors and everything in between, Batco has what you need. Whatever your needs, AGI has you covered. For more information on AGI products, systems, and solutions, visit aggrowth.com.
For more of what's out in 2021 to improve your operation, check out farmprogressshow.com for over 100 in-field demonstrations of the products that were on display. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this week on This Week in Agribusiness. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, stay safe, be careful. We'll see you then.
Closed captioning for This Week in Agribusiness is brought to you by Kubota. Shape your world. This Week in Agribusiness is brought to you by Firestone. You never farm alone. This Week in Agribusiness is produced by Omax Communications in association with 22 Creative Group. We invite you to visit us online at agbizweek.com.